Welcome to our audiobook on Atomic Habits by James Clear, a practical guide to building small habits that lead to remarkable results. If you've ever felt stuck in your routines, frustrated by slow progress, or overwhelmed by big goals, this book is for you. Clear's core message is simple but powerful. Small changes, repeated consistently, compound over time into massive transformation. In this audiobook, we'll break down his ideas in a friendly, story-driven way, with examples, insights, and practical steps that you can apply immediately, at work, in school, in your relationships, and in personal growth. Let's dive in and discover how tiny habits can create extraordinary change. Part 1. Focus on tiny changes, the 1% rule. James Clear opens with a deceptively simple idea. You don't need to make massive changes to see remarkable results. Tiny improvements, made consistently, add up over time. He calls this the 1% rule. Imagine improving just 1% each day. It doesn't sound like much, but over a year, that adds up to nearly 37 times better. The same principle works in reverse. Small bad habits compound into major problems if left unchecked. Clear's insight is that habits are the building blocks of your identity and outcomes. So focusing on small, consistent improvements is more effective than relying on willpower or drastic changes. Think of an example. Two people decide to improve their health. One tries an intense exercise plan, pushing themselves hard for a week, then burns out. The other person commits to doing just 10 push-ups each morning. Over months, the second person not only builds strength, but also develops a sustainable exercise habit that grows naturally. Clear emphasizes that success is rarely about radical transformation. It's about tiny changes that compound consistently. Clear also introduces the concept of identity-based habits. Instead of setting goals like, I want to run a marathon, focus on becoming the kind of person who runs. By tying habits to identity, behavior change becomes self-reinforcing. For example, starting with a small action, putting on running shoes and jogging for 5 minutes gradually builds the identity of a runner. Over time, your habits align with your desired identity, and the changes feel natural rather than forced. He also stresses the importance of systems over goals. Goals are the results you want. Systems are the processes that get you there. Tiny habits form the foundation of these systems. Clear writes, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. By focusing on improving the small components, daily routines, environment, cues, and behaviors, you set yourself up for long-term success, rather than relying on motivation or discipline alone. So start small. Identify one tiny habit that aligns with the identity you want to adopt. Make it easy, repeatable, and consistent. Over time, these small actions compound into extraordinary results. Clear's message is clear. You don't need to make giant leaps, just start with tiny changes and let them grow. Success is the sum of many small habits, consistently repeated. Part 2. The 4 laws of behavior change. Cue, craving, response, reward. James Clear introduces a practical framework for building good habits and breaking bad ones. The 4 laws of behavior change. He explains that every habit follows a simple feedback loop. Cue gives craving, gives response, gives reward. By understanding this loop, you can design your environment, actions, and mindset to make good habits easier and bad habits harder. Clear emphasizes that small, consistent adjustments to these elements produce lasting behavior change. Law 1. Make it obvious. The first law focuses on the cue, the trigger that initiates a habit. To build a good habit, the cue must be obvious. Clear gives examples like placing your workout clothes where you can see them, or leaving a water bottle on your desk to encourage hydration. The principle is simple. Out of sight, out of mind. In sight, in mind. By making cues obvious, you increase the likelihood that the behavior will occur automatically. Think of it like a reminder system built into your environment. nudging you toward positive action without relying on willpower. Law 2. Make it attractive. Next comes the craving, the motivation that drives behavior. Clear emphasizes that habits stick when they are appealing. One strategy is temptation bundling, pairing an action you want to do with something you enjoy. For example, only allowing yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while exercising transforms a task into something exciting. By making the habit attractive, your brain looks forward to it rather than dreading it, creating a natural pull toward consistent action. Law 3. Make it easy. The third law focuses on the response, the actual behavior. Clear stresses that reducing friction is key to habit formation. If a habit is too hard, you're less likely to follow through. Break habits into smaller, manageable steps. For instance, if your goal is to meditate daily, start with just 2 minutes instead of 20. The principle here is motion before action. It's easier to maintain momentum when the first step is effortless. By simplifying the behavior, consistency becomes attainable, and small wins build confidence over time. Law 4. Make it satisfying. Finally, the reward reinforces the habit. Clear explains that habits need immediate positive feedback to stick. If the outcome is delayed or unclear, the brain struggles to link action with benefit. One strategy is tracking progress. For example, marking an X on a calendar each day you complete a habit creates a visual reward. Celebrating small wins taps into our desire for satisfaction, making habits enjoyable and sustainable. The combination of immediate reward and visible progress reinforces the behavior, turning small actions into lasting routines. By mastering these 4 laws, you gain practical control over your habits. You can design systems to make positive behaviors automatic and undesirable behaviors inconvenient or unrewarding. Clear's framework. By mastering these 4 laws, you gain practical control over your habits. You can design systems to make positive behaviors automatic and undesirable behaviors inconvenient or unrewarding. Clear's framework. Part 3. How to break bad habits and build good ones. Habit stacking and environment design. James Clear emphasizes that environment shapes behavior more than sheer willpower. One of his key insights is that your surroundings act as invisible cues, guiding your habits whether you notice it or not. Instead of relying solely on motivation, you can design your environment to make good habits obvious and convenient, and bad habits difficult or invisible. By intentionally shaping your space, routines, and triggers, you set yourself up for success. One of Clear's most practical strategies is habit stacking. This means pairing a new habit with an existing one, using the established habit as a trigger. For example, if you already make coffee every morning, you could stack a habit of writing 1 sentence in your journal immediately after pouring your coffee. By linking the new behavior to an established routine, you make it easier to remember and execute. The power of habit stacking lies in its simplicity. It leverages what you already do naturally to create consistent action. Linking the new behavior to an established routine, you make it easier to remember and execute. The power of habit stacking lies in its simplicity. It leverages what you already do naturally to create consistent action. Linking the new behavior to an established routine, you make it easier to remember and execute. The power of habit stacking lies in its simplicity. It leverages what you already do naturally to create consistent action. Another key idea is designing for success, not just motivation. Motivation fluctuates, but a well-designed environment ensures that desired habits happen even when your willpower is low. Clear highlights examples from athletes, artists, and professionals who set up their spaces to make productive behaviors automatic. A writer keeps notebooks and pens visible to capture ideas immediately. A runner lays out shoes and gear the night before. A student keeps textbooks and notes organized and accessible. By arranging your surroundings to encourage positive habits, success becomes the default. Finally, Clear emphasizes patience and consistency. Small, deliberate changes in your environment and routine compound over time, creating profound transformation. He writes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. By focusing on habit stacking, environment design, and tiny improvements, you shift the burden from relying on motivation to building sustainable systems. The result is consistent progress toward your goals, often without feeling like a struggle." Part 4. Make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Advanced strategies for behavior change. James Clear emphasizes that long-term habit success comes from designing systems that make positive behavior automatic and negative behavior difficult. While motivation is temporary and willpower limited, your environment and routines can be structured to guide your actions effortlessly. The goal is to make doing the right thing easy and natural, and doing the wrong thing inconvenient or unattractive. Clear's approach is rooted in practicality. Small adjustments to your surroundings, habits and routines produce outsized results over time. One strategy is automation. Automating positive behaviors reduces reliance on decision-making and motivation. For instance, setting up automatic savings ensures you invest consistently, while preparing healthy meals removes the friction of making better food choices. Clear explains that by automating good habits, you remove barriers and make success almost inevitable. Conversely, automation can be used to prevent bad habits. For example, restricting access to distracting websites with apps or unsubscribing from promotional emails reduces temptation before it occurs. Another key concept is commitment devices. These are systems or agreements that lock you into future behaviors and prevent deviation from your desired path. For instance, placing your running shoes by the door or scheduling a standing weekly workout with a friend creates accountability. Clear highlights that commitment devices harness your future self's behavior. You're essentially shaping your choices ahead of time to make the desired habits easier to follow. The clever part is that you're reducing reliance on daily willpower and decision-making, making good habits automatic. Clear also emphasizes the importance of friction. To break bad habits, increase the effort required to perform them. If you want to reduce screen time, put your phone in another room or change its settings to make access slower. If you want to stop snacking on candy, don't keep it in your house. By increasing the friction for undesirable behaviors and decreasing friction for positive ones, you naturally nudge yourself toward better choices. Small environmental tweaks compound over time, reinforcing good habits and suppressing bad ones. Finally, Clear highlights the principle of designing identity-supporting systems. Rather than focusing solely on goals, build systems that reinforce the person you want to become. For example, instead of "I want to read more," create a habit of placing a book by your bedside every night. Instead of "I want to get fit," make daily steps automatic by leaving your walking shoes visible. By designing habits that align with your identity, you reduce internal conflict, increase consistency, and let small, deliberate choices accumulate into remarkable results over time. By making good habits inevitable and bad habits difficult, you remove reliance on willpower, harness the power of your environment, and create lasting change. Clear's advice reminds us that success isn't about sudden transformation. It's about designing a life where the right choices are easy, automatic, and aligned with who you want to become. Over time, these carefully designed systems lead to profound personal and professional growth. Part 5. The secrets to maintaining long-term habits: tracking, reflection, and continuous improvement. James Clear emphasizes that building habits is one thing, but maintaining them over months and years requires deliberate strategies. Small improvements compound over time, but only if you stay consistent. To ensure long-term success, Clear recommends tracking progress, reflecting regularly, and continuously optimizing your habits. These strategies transform effort into results and help prevent stagnation or regression. Tracking progress is a simple yet powerful tool. Clear explains that recording your habits creates immediate feedback and accountability. For example, marking an X on a calendar each day you complete a habit, or logging workouts or study sessions, provides a visual representation of consistency. This simple act taps into the human desire for completion and momentum. Missing a day becomes noticeable, which motivates you to stay on track. Tracking doesn't just measure performance. It reinforces identity and commitment. Reflection and review are equally crucial. Clear encourages setting aside time periodically to assess what's working and what isn't. Ask yourself, are my habits aligned with the person I want to become? Are there areas where small adjustments could produce better results? Reflection turns routine into insight and prevents unconscious drift. Many people stick to habits mechanically without evaluating their effectiveness, and that's where growth stalls. By reviewing and reflecting, you remain intentional and adaptive, ensuring that habits continue to serve your goals. Continuous improvement builds on the principle of compounding. Clear stresses that habits should evolve as you grow. If a habit has become automatic, challenge yourself to increase its difficulty or refine it. For instance, if you've been walking 5,000 steps daily, gradually aim for 7,000. If you've been journaling, briefly extend your entries or add reflection prompts. Small tweaks over time create exponential growth, turning minor daily adjustments into significant long-term outcomes. Clear also reminds us that identity is reinforced through long-term habits. The longer you maintain a habit, the more it becomes part of who you are. When habits are consistently practiced, they shape self-perception. I am a runner, I am a reader, I am disciplined. This self-reinforcement reduces friction, making habits easier to maintain and aligns behavior with values and goals. Long-term success, Clear argues, comes from combining small, repeatable actions with thoughtful tracking, reflection, and incremental improvement. So to maintain habits over the long haul, track your progress, reflect on effectiveness, and continuously improve. Celebrate small wins, adjust routines as needed, and let habits compound to shape the person you want to become. Clear's wisdom shows that transformation is a marathon, not a sprint, and that consistent, deliberate practice leads to extraordinary results over time. By embracing these principles, you create lasting change that grows naturally, effortlessly, and sustainably. Outro: Atomic Habits. And there you have it, James Clear's powerful framework for building tiny habits that create remarkable, long-term change, explained in a friendly, practical way. Take a moment to reflect. Which habit or strategy resonates most with you? Which small change will you start today? Remember, transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's the small, consistent actions that compound over time into extraordinary results. Clear's insights aren't about quick fixes. They're about designing your life so that good habits are easy, bad habits are difficult, and your environment supports the person you want to become. By focusing on tiny improvements, habit stacking, environment design, and continuous reflection, you can make lasting changes that touch every area of life: personal growth, health, productivity, and relationships. Small actions repeated consistently have incredible power. So take action. Start with one small habit today. Track your progress, reflect on what works, and refine your systems. Over weeks, months, and years, these tiny changes will compound into profound results. Atomic habits are the engine that drives long-term success and personal transformation. If you enjoyed this audiobook, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insightful self-improvement and professional growth content. Like, comment, and share if you found value in these principles, and explore our other audiobooks to continue your journey of growth and mastery. Every step you take toward better habits is a step toward a more effective, fulfilled, and empowered life. Thank you for listening. And here's to harnessing the power of tiny habits to achieve extraordinary results, one small change at a time.